It's Colin, Damon here from Games, Brains and a Headbanging Life, gbhbl.com for short, and it's episode 100 of the Flashback series, and also the finale. Simply put, we've become tired of doing this series. Our hearts aren't in it as much as they used to be. We've covered a ton of games, and we figured we'd wrap it up with this final episode where we're just going to talk. No script, no notes, nothing. Our own history, our own flashback of gaming. We wish to concentrate on some of the more aspects on the channel that we do, like they made what into a movie and they made what into a series and that sort of thing. So this flashback is purely our history of both gamers, both from a very young age up until now in different ways and different points where we've jumped in and out. So we're just going to spitball. We're going to talk about our history, early memories, games we enjoyed growing up, some of our favourite soundtracks, memories from gaming, games overall, from consoles and things like that. So we hope you enjoy. Bear in mind, it's just us. Obviously, Liam was the early person who did the first 20 to 30 episodes of the Flashback series as well. But Damon has covered almost 3/4 of this series to date, so it felt right for you to be here for this. So, earliest memory of gaming. What is it? What is it? I know it's really, really hard because you naturally start thinking of things that maybe weren't.
One of the memories which always stand out for me, literally from gaming, early memories, is me and you sitting in the shed playing Super Tennis, trying to beat Mark and flipping Steve.
Yep.
In that bloody game on 2-player, and it was flipping impossible. We could never do it. And it's just one of those early memories. Like literally, the Super Nintendo, the SNES, was my first memory of computer games. Yeah.
It is. It's a sharp memory. Super Tennis, of course, the SNES game, the SNES game is still one of the finest tennis games out there. Generally brilliant. And we basically had a console set up in like a heated shed at the base of our garden where we lived with our parents. And you'd go in there, and we used to try to play doubles. And the two characters you mentioned, Mark and Steve, were fucking near impossible to beat. Incredibly difficult things. I remember the Master System and Sonic the Hedgehog and Alex Kidd in Miracle World and stuff like that, particularly, and then things like NES as well with Mario, although I have a stronger memory of Super Mario All-Stars from the SNES, which obviously had them all, and being wowed by that. But these are early memories. These are the stuff, I think, where you're kids and you're not really into games, you just like to play this odd one here and there.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Whereas I think later is when we really got into gaming in that aspect, you know. I remember things like Battletoads and all that. Talking of which, Battletoads and Battlemaniacs, one of my earliest memories of just one of the most frustrating games ever made. And we are, of course, talking about the bike speeder section.
Yeah.
That's still fucking chaotic. Still chaotic to do that these days.
Well, I remember back in the day, I think it was you had a Game Gear.
Yeah.
Games like Shinobi.
Shinobi, yeah.
Yeah, the old bloody foreign little thing games and I remember those sort of style games, proper games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of the sort of when it comes to the handheld aspect of those early days, while we did have Game Boys, I remember the Game Gear more as well because I remember the Sonic the Hedgehog, the Game Gear version of Sonic the Hedgehog on that. Fuck the Game Gear though. That shit drank batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Like it swallowed those things fucking whole. But yeah, don't have lots. I always just remember the screen being a bit crap as well and things like that.
I think it was a colour. It was a colour. It was a black and white.
It was colour, wasn't it? It was colour, yeah.
Because I remember the original Game Boy. That was black and white.
Yeah, Game Boy Colour.
One,
was the one that came afterwards. Yeah. Because I'm trying to think what other consoles we would have played around then. Because it doesn't start. Well, we would have played things like Atari back in the day. Yeah. I don't remember anything from those consoles. So it really just kind of start around the Master System, NES games.
And then after the handheld consoles, I think it must have been the Saturn.
No, we have to talk about the Mega Drive, of course, as well.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the Mega Drive or the Genesis, if you're from that part of the world. That was probably the first one that really blew my mind in those days. The collection of games that existed on that. We were very early, although we had a SNES and we played the Mario games, the discovery of the Genesis and the Mega Drive changed things, and we were Sega for quite a little while.
Yeah.
Really, really were. So games like Sonic the Hedgehog, still like one of my earliest, strongest games ever made, and particularly Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that came on that, the cartridges always looking cool and things like that.
Yeah, spending half an hour waiting for the loading, blowing inside it all the time, even with bloody, N64.
Well, I was going to say, we'll get into that worse up there as well. But, you know, being young and being kids, we couldn't afford the new consoles when they came out. So our older brother, you know him, he does a lot of videos on his channel and writes for the website, Brendan, would end up spending, I think, £500 or £600 on the brand new Sega console that was released called the Sega Saturn. And through that, he picked up a couple of games that we used to always want to play when he was out.
The one big game, the one which even till this date, you know, like 20 odd years later, will still go down as is one of my most favourite games ever. It's Command and Conquer, man.
Yeah. So a lot of games that we played on the Saturn that would be released on other consoles. Command and Conquer was a major one. Resident Evil. Our first dealings was with Resident Evil. Sega Rally.
Yep.
Virtua Cop. Virtua Fighter. Basically, all the major hits of the Saturn, we ended up playing.
Yep.
Thing is, fuck that console. It's a shit console. And there's a reason why it died.
Yeah, I mean, you missed a few of my
Go on.
more quiet ones. Obviously, Garden Heroes.
Of course.
One of my hard game, which you had up and down on, was the Horde. Yeah, hard game, very frustrating. But
Don't like the Horde, yeah.
Still enjoyed it.
Of course, go look at the flashback for the Horde to get our thoughts on that. Yeah.
There's another one.
Bug. Although I think we never played a demo of Bug. There was a
Bug.
demo thing that was really for that.
Clockwork Knight.
Clockwork Knight and Clockwork Knight 2.
Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Later.
Oh, hang on.
No, it was just Panzer Dragoon. Panzer Dragoon Saga was what the last ever game released for it.
And there's another one
Knights
with robots.
Gun Griffin.
Gun Griffin, that's it. Yeah, Gun Griffin. Yeah.
Gun Griffin.
Not a great game, but I don't know why, but we really played that game a lot.
Yeah, we got into that sort of thing as well. But let's talk then about specific memories from the Sega Saturn. So for me, I'm going to think of a couple. Resident Evil, of course. Now, although my memories now are stronger of Resident Evil on the PlayStation and stuff like that, that was where it was first experienced. And obviously there were different elements to the soundtrack and stuff like that. Like rediscovering the Sega Saturn soundtrack and elements like that was really, really cool at a later age. Sega Rally. I mean, I can picture those courses in my fucking head now. Blown away by that game at the time. Fucking blown away.
Walk into any arcade and it's still sitting there. I mean, I'm pretty sure, again, me and you, I remember the amount of times in Woolwich, the arcade in Woolwich, we used to always play Virtual Cop and the gun things.
Yeah, we were big House of the Dead players as well. House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Never played it on console back in the day. We didn't have it for Saturn or anything like that, but did end up playing that game in arcade a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Virtua Fighter 2, I remember being blown away by the idea of ring outs. Thought that was really, really cool. And particularly as well, they include that thing where small parts of characters, if you caged a ninja, you'd knock his headband off.
Oh, yeah.
I used to love fighting Durrell under the water. He used to look awesome and stuff like that. These are the sort of ones. And Guardian Heroes, the reason why we fell in love with Guardian Heroes was not really the main game. It was the arena. The fucking arena was spectacular fun.
I mean, back in those days, I mean, nowadays it's laughable because you get games like Fortnite, Battle Royale.
Of course.
But back in the day, for a console of that sort of magnitude, just having like bloody, I don't know, like 50, 60 people. All
Can't remember how many you could do. It was quite a lot.
Quite a lot in one arena, and just everyone going crazy, beating the crap out of each other.
It was hilarious.
And you had the bloody massive big bomb guy.
Yeah,
the entire screen.
Yeah, you'd end up putting all these giant ones in there as well.
Yeah.
Guardian Heroes was really, really cool, very clever. The reason why it got its re-release as well later in the years too. So they're the ones that jumped to mind for me. What about you? Is there anything I've missed? Well, the Horde. Yeah, I guess the Horde.
I mean, like I said, the Horde for me, it was one of those because I like strategy games and like building games, and that sort of game had that sort of image for me too back at the start. You know, I mean, I never really got to enjoy my PC games until my age now. You know, but that sort of game there back in that day was that sort of game for me. You know, it was a building game. You know, defend your town, and very difficult. Don't get me wrong. I don't ever remember getting past like the first area because it was such a.
It's very, very hard, yeah. I've watched Let's Plays and stuff about online and seeing how people play it and been like, oh, they make it look so easy.
I know.
And the thing is, I reckon, like, nowadays, if I went back to it, I'd probably get it a lot more. But we're still quite young then. Well, before we move on to the big one, the big console, the one that's probably responsible for a major part of our love of video games, let's touch upon it then. And it's Command and Conquer. So obviously this started a love affair with a series that still runs to date, but not always loving a lot of the games in this series. Command and Conquer, this was our first experience of real-time strategy. Our first experience. And it was fucking mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Mind-blowing. You know?
Yeah, so I've played, I must have played the first Command and Conquer on literally, I think every console, PS1, N64,
Well, if you're watching our content regularly, you know over the last couple of weeks in the end of 2020, I played and recorded all the footage of the remastered campaign of GDI Nod and Towards Red Alert and stuff like that. And I've currently got the campaigns for Retaliation ready to go as well. So I've done them all. So yeah, again, like you, I think we've probably played it across every major fucking console that's been released.
Yeah, definitely.
But what was it that grabbed us, do you think, so much? Because we both got a lifelong love of strategy games.
I don't know,
but traditional real-time strategy.
I just thought it was such a clever game, you know. I mean the whole story for starters, between obviously GDI, the sort of good diplomatic people versus Kane, who thinks he's the good guy but he's actually like the evil guy. I think the whole story was fantastic. Even the graphics back in those days. I know they've remastered it, and the remaster looks really good. It looks really good, but the graphics back in those days, I thought was impressive.
Yeah.
The cutscenes with the talking, like the commander, Kane's.
I remember how much we used to absolutely love certain parts of the cutscenes.
Oh yeah.
When Seth gets shot.
Oh, that's brilliant.
When Shepard at the very final mission is just exhausted and says, "Destroy the bastard," and you're like, "Yeah, let's do this." You know, I still remember those feelings of like getting a nuclear launch on you and stuff like that. Although the trick is to create some big defenses away from your base, and he'll always target those.
That's the only criticism I would say about Command & Conquer. I would love to have been able to go to easy, hard, impossible mode, where literally computer... I mean, obviously, I know further down in like Red Alert 2, you can do that.
You can do it now.
But,
in the remastered version, there are 3 difficulty settings for the original game. Easy, casual, normal, and hard. I've not tried hard.
I would love to go, because it's a proper test, you know.
If you've got a decent PC, a decent laptop that can run it, it's not a harsh game to run, and it's not expensive either. Okay, right. Before we move on to it and the console that changed our lives, I will note this, and you might be wondering as well. We've talked about some major franchises that we did play when we were younger. Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario. We played them. We played Mario 1, the weird Mario 2. We played Super Mario Bros. 3, one of the finest games and still one of the best Mario games ever made. We played all of that stuff. We played Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic Spinball, and more. But do you know what we never played? Legend of Zelda? Any of the early games? Never played any of them. Or Final Fantasy. These games would be important to us, be a major part of our love of gaming from this point onwards. Which brings us to the console that changed everything. One of the times we finally owned consoles ourselves. In fact, we had several of them. PlayStation 1. The PlayStation. We all know it. What a game-changing console this is. Now, I will say, it's not my favourite console. No. Although I would say it's got the most amount of games that had a big impact on me. There's one later that I consider to be the cream of all consoles. But we'll get to that. But PlayStation 1 was a big, big deal to us. And here's an admittance. We're going to talk about, before we talk about the games, is the reason why it was so important to us and why we held on to it for many, many years afterwards. You could chip a PlayStation. And you know what? You remember what that means? It means you could put something in it that meant you could play knockoff versions of the games that are cut and put to CD and play them. And we had someone who could do that.
Yep.
And we could buy the best games, the brand new games from her for £6-7.
Pence compared to the price.
Exactly. So we had every game. Every game you could ever want, we had them because we could afford them. And that meant we got a wealth of stuff. So here's the problem with this part. Talking from our memories is going to be very fucking difficult because we've owned everything on the PlayStation. Every major game release we have played. So instead, let's highlight important games from it. So think of one and then we'll pull it out of the air. So I'll think of the first one. Metal Gear Solid. How much Metal Gear Solid changed. I obviously had no clue that it was a third in the series, but I'd never played a game that was this cinematic, that told this deep of a story, that had these cutscenes that were 15, 20 minutes long. Incredible. It wasn't our first experience of stealth gameplay, because we actually owned Tenchu Stealth Assassins beforehand, but my god, did Metal Gear make it wonderful. I reckon I played through Metal Gear 20 times, maybe more.
Yeah.
At least.
I mean, let's face it, okay, obviously nowadays, if you wanted to, you can complete Metal Gear in about 2 hours.
Easily.
It's a very short game.
Yeah.
Very short game. But it's one of those games where, I mean, character-wise, if you're one of the people, I wasn't at first, but in my last couple of playthroughs, I've sat there and listened to all the dialogue. Don't press the little triangle to skip the whole thing.
Yep.
It's actually a very good story.
It's an incredible story,
From obviously Snake himself talking to the Colonel.
It's preachy as fuck, but it's cool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But obviously listening to their background and why they have a sort of friend-hate relationship, sort of, I'd say, yeah. And obviously, just the story's brilliant. The sort of little love affair between him and Meryl is a little clever little story,
Liquid.
Yeah, Liquid
Snake. Yeah.
Brilliant bad guy.
Alright, favourite boss battle from Metal Gear Solid, because obviously there are 10 of them. You're the one you love the most.
I'm going to go for one of the obvious ones, only because the cleverness is when you fight Saga Mantis.
Okay, yeah.
And the cleverness is where it forces you to change the control out of the port.
Yep.
Okay, because I remember when I first ever happened, I remember thinking like, bollocks, the fucking computer's froze. What the hell's going on? And it's like, then it wants you to obviously unplug the port one, the port two. I don't know why it does that. I suppose it's because it's to try and confuse you, because obviously it's a confusing moment. Yeah,
it's disorientating, and it ties in the whole Psycho Mantis' behaviour. Mine is Sniper Wolf.
Oh yeah.
Sniper battle. Big fan of that. Yeah. Big fan of that. But I also don't mind the Hind D battle. It's the best sort of machine battle, because the fight against Metal Gear itself is not good. No. Unfortunately, it's like, this is the big robot everyone's scared of.
Yeah.
Take its radar out, and that's it. Not exactly hard.
Ocelot's pretty good too.
Ocelot is pretty good as well. They're all pretty good, to be fair. Liquid on top of the destroyed Metal Gear at the end and that sort of thing. Yeah, that was a mind blowing one. Let's just quickly then, before you come up with your next one. We did mention it, Tenchu, Stealth Assassins. Fell in love with this game as well for the stealth aspect.
Just quickly going back to Metal Gear Solid. What was your most saddest moment in it?
Saddest? Yeah. Oof. Saddest?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Which pulled at your heartstrings.
I'm trying to think now, because...
for me, it's obvious part for me.
Sad. I don't know if I would really call it any part sad. I think the impact of the end, where with the final part where Liquid's holding the gun over Snake, and you get that fox, and then he die. That's massive. Please don't say when Sniper Wolf dies. I hate that.
Because it's sad for Otacon.
Yeah, but Otacon's... I don't like that character.
I know he's a piss poor character, but I would have thought you would have said that, because obviously, when potentially Meryl could die, obviously, or you could save her, or she would die.
Yeah.
If your finger's good enough, or unless you have the cheaty auto...
Turbo pad. Yeah. Some of us didn't need it. Some of us have fingers of steel. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a good one. It's a good one. It's a tough one, because it's got some cool impact stuff. I mean... You'd argue that when Vulcan Raven dies and his final speech is pretty fucking powerful as well.
Oh, he gets eaten alive by the crows, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's some good shit in it. But yeah, Tenchu, the reason why we got back to that is because it was a big, impactful game for us for stealth game play. I'm currently trying to create a full playthrough of it now. Yeah. And I tell you what, man, it's harder than I fucking remember, because I'm doing it where it's going to be a full gameplay, level 1 to 10, Grandmaster.
In all three areas, because maybe it's three.
No, just one route for each one.
Because that's the only thing that, I mean, back as a kid, I didn't care, but now as an adult, it's so annoying. The amount of times you got to try and get the correct route. Oh, is that guard there?
There's no way to select them. There's no way to select them. Each level, basically, what you're saying is each level has 3 different routes, or 3 different setups, where there'll be different guards, different positions and stuff like that. But it's random. It's randomly selected. So if you wanted to do them all, you're constantly having to start and go, that guard's in the same place, so that's wrong, and that sort of thing. Not a lot of fun at all, to be honest, doing it that way. You just play it through normally and get what you can get. But yeah, Tenchu, the stealth aspect was just so fucking cool.
Yeah, definitely brilliant.
Game has not held up, though.
No,
it has not held up.
Graphically, it's horrible. You believe can fall through roofs, or
the jumping.
Guards can see you through buildings, or the damn innocent.
Yeah. Fucking hell, absolutely. Yeah. And it's weird, although Tenchu 2, I remember it, and I remember it being a better game, and my memories of it are very limited.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Very limited.
Okay, throw one out then.
Well, Tenchu Z was it? No, that's
Tenchu Z, that's Xbox 360
I mean, I'm going to go for the obvious ones.
Go on.
Spyro.
Oh, yeah, of course. Wonderful.
Yeah, literally 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and Year of the Dragon.
Year of the Dragon, yeah.
Spyro, it's just one of those games which, even now, I can go back and put in 10 hours of enjoying it.
Yep.
Completely getting all the gems, rescuing all the dragons, getting all the eggs, and it's one of those games which even my children will love it.
Yeah.
You know, because in 20 years' time, I'll still enjoy playing it.
I agree. Yeah, Spyro games were great, enlightening. Because PlayStation had so many serious games in it, so getting to play this bright, colourful thing that had a wonderful, particularly the first game, a wonderful difficulty curve, where you could play for a level very easily. But if you want to do everything, that's where the challenge comes into it. I mean, think of the level, Treetops.
Treetops, yeah.
There it is. Yeah. However, I will advise you, don't listen to him. Go play the Reignited trilogy to see the best version of Spyro that you possibly can play these days. In conjunction with that, let's talk about a franchise that often shares same space with Spyro, but is not as important to us, I think. And we certainly didn't come to it until the third game in the series, Crash Bandicoot. Yep. So I never played 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. I played 3 first. Warped. And loved Warped. Yep. Warped, and that's the thing. Warped turns out to be the best Crash Bandicoot game they ever made. Loved Warped. A lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I played the remaster, obviously, on the PS4.
Yep.
So obviously, Warped was our first introduction.
Really. Yeah, introduction. Yeah.
And then I think it might have been even Crash Team Racing after that.
Yeah, Crash Team Racing after that.
Crash Bash was a Crash Bash maybe. Was that?
We did play Crash Bash, but definitely Crash Team Racing. Because I remember trying to get all the platinums.
Yeah, that was your baby. I remember you always playing that game. Yeah. And I mean, 1 and 2. They were there, but we never really...
Never really?
No, I mean, I have now.
I have now as well, and I can't believe I fucking hard number 1 is.
Yeah, oh God. The bridge jumping with the bridge breaks, oh my God. That level, on trying to get the bloody platinum on that, oh my God, drove me insane.
Okay, right. Well, we talk about it. So obviously, Resident Evil franchise was a major part of PlayStation 1 playing as well. It's where my strongest memories of the first Resident Evil come from. But we should also obviously include Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil Nemesis from this. Let's say it now. We've talked about it in the flashback. Resident Evil 2 is one of the greatest sequels ever made.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Takes everything great about the first game and ramps it fucking up. I'm a fan of number 3. I'm a fan of Nemesis. But I don't love it the way I do Resident Evil 2. Yeah.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 for me is probably top of the pile. I mean,
one of the best games ever made.
It is easily, and Konami were just genius with that. Konami? Capcom, sorry.
Yeah, Konami. Yeah, we're going to get into Konami in a minute. We are going to obviously get onto Konami in a minute. Yeah, there's no touch in Resident Evil 2. There's nothing we can really add to what we previously said in the past. This was the series... Playing Resident Evil on the Saturn, the Resident Evil on the PS1 and 2 and 3 that continued a love affair with Resident Evil that exists still to date. You know? We've covered almost every fucking aspect of it and played pretty much every version barring spin-offs, you know, across the years. Big fan of the series. But again, its sister, if you want, is of course Silent Hill. Yep. And I'll be honest with you, I always loved Silent Hill more than I did Resident Evil. Purely because of how horror-based it was and how unique it was. Resident Evil was more fun to play. Because there are parts of Silent Hill near the end that are just not that much fun. But for impact on a young mind and a horror aspect, Silent Hill, nah.
I always prefer the story to Silent Hill. I think the story was made a bit more sense than Resident Evil.
That's fucking nonsense. Really? Silent Hill's story is nonsense. You can't include Silent Hill 2 in this because it wasn't a PlayStation 1 game. Fine. Silent Hill 1.
Okay, fine.
Gods.
Yeah, I'll take that back then again.
Resident Evil story made perfect fucking sense.
For the horror aspect.
Yeah.
I think Silent Hill was more scarier than Resident Evil. You know?
Okay then, that brings us to the question about Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Favourite moment, from both franchises of the games from PlayStation 1. So favourite memory of Silent Hill 1 and favourite memory of Resident Evil.
I mean, obviously, I could choose anything, but for me, it's got to be the first time we turned to the dark side when you're in the alleyway. Because as a kid, bearing in mind, I would have been like 7, 8, maybe 10 playing this game. And literally,
I think you would have been a bit older, a little bit older. You were still young. Yeah.
Just like being in an alleyway and then it turns to the dark side and all these weird sirens. Yeah, very, very scary game.
Yeah.
I mean, Resident Evil, what about the first one, yeah?
Oh, or 2 or 3.
Oh, okay, so all bloody hell.
Yeah, any of them.
That's a hard one. I'm trying to think of something specific. I mean, I'm going to choose a really crap one because I can't think of anything that comes to my head. But just It's Resident Evil 3. God, I don't know why I choose them, but watching Brad Vickers get killed by the Nemesis.
Okay.
Yeah, I know his story is a bit of a dick because obviously he leaves you and abandons you all that, but it's still.
He rescues you at the end of Resident Evil.
Yeah, he does, but it's still like he's one of the stars team. And
this goes back to Damon's love and hate, hate of Brad Vickers, man. Calm it down.
If you read the S. Perry books, she puts him in a bit better light. Because you can hear he's constantly on the radio.
Nobody is reading the SD Perry books, Damon, except you and me. So stop. Resident Evil. I mean, it goes back probably to more accomplishments than anything else. Pre-achievements, that aspect of it, but getting the best endings in Resident Evil and unlocking the rocket launcher, infinite rocket launcher, and things like that. Discovering the B stories of Resident Evil 2. Those things were always so fucking cool. Gave you so much depth, and realizing the B story plays out alongside the other person's A story. That felt really fucking imaginative and really, really cool. For me, Silent Hill, best memories often relate to the horror that is more subtle. And it's stuff like where the place is normal. So, like, for example, like the dog's head that's been for a basketball hoop. Oh, yeah. Like, shit like that's just really dark, twisted shit, you know? But also unlocking weapons in Silent Hill later on and discovering the fuel and then the drill and being like, okay, now I'm fucking powered up. You know, that aspect. Right, what else we got? PlayStation 1 was the biggest conversation part of this as well.
I mean
Let's do it.
There's so many we can do. And we missed it on the SNES, by the way. One of the games we always played. But it's the Bullfrog franchise. Theme Park, because the original Theme Park on the SNES, but obviously
memories come from PlayStation now. Yeah.
But I mean, Theme Park and Theme Park Hospital.
Yeah, you know, Theme Hospital more, I think, than anything else.
Yeah.
Theme Park always felt like it would fall apart quickly, but ended up really enjoying Theme Park World. Later, Theme Park World seemed to be more of a fun game, but Theme Hospital probably played that game to death.
So much. And obviously, if you haven't played now, 2.0 Hospital, is that?
2 Point Hospital, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Woodstock, difficult though, difficult. While we didn't play it beforehand, we did start playing it here. Final Fantasy. So we're talking about Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Three games that live and love long in the hearts of many people. Everyone will have their own personal favourite. We played them when they came out. We played them all from 7, 8, and through 9. We could tell you over and over again how brilliant each one is. I think the better way to do it is to simply go, well, what's our favourites? And mine is 9. Mine was 9.
I love 7. Yeah. I love 7. I love 8. I love 9. For gameplay, it's 9. But for me, for story-wise, it's number 8.
Yeah, you've said this a fair bit, yeah.
I love the story of number 8. It's just so clever. You know, I mean, Squall story is fantastic.
Considering 7 was the first we played, would you say this was probably our first experience with a role-playing game on this scale? Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
100%. Because I mean, you know, obviously there's games further down the line, but
our first, it was incredible.
Proper first one. I mean, 7 was just unbelievable, you know, and just I mean, and Sephiroth as a bad guy,
he's iconic.
I mean, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah,
you say Sephiroth, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah,
you know, and. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Cloud's backstory, how he forgot who he was, it's just so clever.
All right, then, favourite moments that you can like from those 3 games. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that made you go, wow. It's an easy one, but come on, man, Aerith's death. Jesus, what a moment! What a moment!
It's definitely an iconic moment. But I like a lot of Vivi moments in number 9 though.
Well, I've got to do 2. One is related to Vivi.
Okay.
I think one of the saddest moments in the 3 games is the murder of the mages, the slave mages on top of the ship, and that's Vivi witnesses.
Yeah.
And then he obviously loses his shit momentarily and attacks one of the evil versions of him. Great moment.
Wolf number 3, I think, yeah.
But my favourite moment across all 3 of them comes from number 9. And it's partially because of the music. It's just brilliant, but it's such a moment. And it's right near the end of the game, and it's when Zidane has had his being discovered, who he is and what he is. And he's kind of lost his mind. And he decides to just, like drunk almost, trawl his way through a very dangerous area. And he battles monsters. And each time he comes up against something he can't handle on his own. So he's joined by his friends. And it's about him discovering it doesn't matter who you are. We're here for you. We're with you. You're who you are now. The music has got a title. Do you know the title of that music that plays then? It's called You Are Not Alone.
Oh,
of course it is.
Yeah.
Fucking best moment across the series for me.
It's a great moment because obviously when he loses his shit, basically, when he finds out he's a clone, he even calls Vivi and Eco you little brats. So
yeah.
Little brats.
He has a tough time. He has a tough time of it. He really, really does. It's a great moment as well.
Yeah, there's loads of them. I mean, I know Kuja is a bit of a weird
crap villain.
Yeah, he's a crap bagger. But I like when he discovers.
Yeah.
When him and Zidane had their moment at the end.
Yeah, because Kuja's just another mistake as well. Like, that's it. Yeah, which is the only problem with that is they introduce another villain, and you're like, it's too late in the day to get into it. Yeah. Whereas at least 7, you could say, no, that sticks solidly who it is and who it's supposed to be. I want to praise 8's intro as well, because bear in mind, we're coming off 7 with the blocky characters and the mess that it is. And when you first put Final Fantasy 8 in, and you get that music, and then you see that fight between Squall. Yeah, that's such a wow moment, absolutely. As a franchise, I think it's probably the strongest point of the series for us. Although there will be a later game that is just as good, if not better than arguably some of them, for certain points, that's on a different console. So, we're still on PlayStation 1. Other ones that jump out at you. We can't not talk about Medieval. One of my favourite 3D platformers ever. Shitty controls aside, the Tim Burton-esque gothic look of it, the silliness, the humour, fucking a blast to play.
Yeah, very clever game, you know, collecting the chalice, getting all your new weapons. It's just overall a very enjoyable game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't care for the second one as much though.
No, they tried to be clever with it, and it just went a bit silly. You know, I mean, it's got its moments. You know, the whole boxing moment, I like that bit. But
oh, of course, you're right. Yeah, right. Well, let's narrow this down and make this a bit easier. Let's do it with like genre. So, when I say to you, first-person shooter on PlayStation, what jumps into your head?
First-person shooter.
Yeah, a game. Come on, Damon. It's really easy. Probably the first-person shooter we played the most.
Oh hang on. It's like, I better say GoldenEye.
No, different console. We'll get there. Begins with a Q, ends with a 2.
Oh, Quake.
Quake 2.
Quake 2.
Quake 2 though.
Yeah, Quake 2. Yeah.
Never even played Quake 1. Played Quake 2. Fucking loved it.
The hours we put on multiplayer in that game. I know.
Absolutely. Love Quake 2. Did not love at the time Duke Nukem 3D. Ended up getting a love for that later, but actually loved Duke Nukem Time to Kill.
The weird games we created in our multiplayer. Literally, I know what we're going to do.
Pipe bombs only.
We're going to get pipe bombs and throw it and throw as much as you can, and if you survive, you survive.
That was what it was. Yeah. Just throw pipe bombs, and if you survive, that was it. We created some fun versions of that. Big fan of Duke Nukem Time to Kill, which is really funny because we never really played Tomb Raider back in the day. No. Never really played it. Played a demo of Tomb Raider, and that's it. But didn't care about those games at all. We'd end up appreciating them more later in life than we did then. Right, so that's first-person shooter. Well, technically, we've done third-person shooter with Duke Nukem Time to Kill. Yeah. But another one that deserves mention that was really, really enjoyable, but has not held up, Siphon Filter. Yeah. Very, very good. Very, very analytical, which was different to sort of the over-the-top shooting that we were used to. Siphon Filter felt more like a spy game.
Yeah. Good game. I played it actually maybe about 6 months ago, but the controls are very difficult.
Yes.
He runs like he's bloody like a pile of bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, very difficult to control. Still a good game, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. Racing games. You remember from the PlayStation 1. Now, we've never been racing game fans, but I will jump out with one that I always really liked. Colin Mcrae Rally. Yeah, Colin Mcrae Rally. Used to be a big fan of that. But check this, one of the biggest franchises we never liked or never cared for, I think I can speak for both of us, Gran Turismo. Yeah. No. Never got into it.
I think I might be the wrong console, but I'm sure it was Ridge Racer Type 4.
Ridge Racer Type 4?
You put a lot of hours into that game.
Yeah, because obviously you're going to unlock 120 cars, even though they were just colour variations of the same fucking car. But yeah, Ridge Racer 4, I was Type 4 was a big fan of. Never played any other Ridge Racer. Big fan of that. Absolutely.
Wipeout was N64.
We did play Wipeout on the PlayStation, but the best version of Wipeout 64. Is in a different console again. Although it's not a racing game, I think we'll mention it in this part. Grand Theft Auto. First experiences of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow.
The old buddy looking down.
The old one, yeah.
Yeah, do you know, it's first experience of Grand Theft Auto, and obviously doesn't hold, obviously compared to obviously nowadays, it doesn't hold at all.
Of course.
But still a good game, enjoyable game,
Bloody unique.
Yeah,
yeah, we've never played something so adult, had we?
I know, like driving around tanks and stuff like that.
Okay, fighting games then, beat 'em ups. Easy one, right?
Yeah.
Tekken 3.
Yeah, Tekken, yeah.
3. I remember Tekken 3 being the one we played the most of, more than
King,
anything else.
The King and all that, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. What other ones am I forgetting? What other styles of games? Real-time strategy. We mentioned Command & Conquer, but let's also throw in the other one that we played to death. Although its difficulty curve was disgraceful, Warcraft 2, The Dark Saga, which is the combination of the two Warcraft 2 games into one.
Yeah, I think Command & Conquer made me love Warcraft because it reminded me so much of Command & Conquer.
Yep.
Because basically it's virtually the same game, but obviously you're orcs and humans.
Well, it's real-time strategy. Yeah.
And yeah, that game, I put so many hours into it. You know, the skirmishes were quality. You know, but you versus 8, you could do 8 on 1.
Yeah, that was a cool thing, wasn't it?
You know, and like the normal campaign, then you had like the Dark Portal campaign. Yeah. So yeah.
Hard though.
Oh yeah,
very
hard. Yeah.
It turns hard like poorly.
Yeah.
1 minute you're doing fine, next minute you're not, and that fucking sucks. So there's that aspect. What else we got? We played so many. There's some games that we've got like nostalgic love for that aren't even good games, and I'm going to come up with 2 that we have nostalgic love for, but they're not good games. A Bug's Life.
Oh yeah.
And Rugrats Search for Reptar.
Yeah, I mean,
not good games.
Not good games, but again, the mini golf, man, we put so many hours into that game.
The mini golf was a blast.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, Rugrats Search for Raptor also has one of my favourite pieces of music. Is in the end credits, they did a reprised version of the Rugrats theme, but a more mellow version of it. It sounds awesome. And I don't know what was A Bug's Life, but maybe the simplistic gameplay just appealed. It had challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why that one kind of hooked us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've seen the film at a time, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously the collectibles too. You know, I think we all had the hate for the bloody one level where At's carrying you around.
Yeah.
Hopper's chasing you. That level, that was always a hate level.
Oh, fuck that level.
Yeah. We going along fine and suddenly you hit a small little pebble and then she'd stop and then you get killed by Hopper.
Yeah, I recorded the footage in a full gameplay about 6 months ago, and it was that problem as well. I had to cut out so many deaths. What else?
I've been saving one game which hasn't been mentioned. Got my absolute baby.
Oh, of course.
Hop into the beginning.
Well, strategy game, yeah.
Strategy game. Obviously, I have played on the PC, by the way, literally only recently, and obviously it's 10 times better. No slowing down, but it was one of my all-time favourite games. I could complete it, play it. I remember he broke the game about 3 or 4 times, snapped the disc in half because we had a fallout and he snapped it in half or something like that, and then I had to buy it again and. Or you pulled the memory card out when it was saving and it corrupts the whole file. Yeah, but no, it's one of those games which, for me, I had a major love for it, even though it had a major fault because of the constant. It
ran like shit.
It couldn't handle it. The console couldn't handle it.
Yeah. It ran like shit. It took a whole 15 blocks of your memory card. Saving took like 10 minutes alone. I appreciate your love for it, but I just don't get it. It's an alright strategy game, but playing it on PlayStation is just a horrendous way to play it. So, even though I've played it through as well, that's the thing. It gets very hard later on, but I've done as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on because we're going to be here all fucking night otherwise. The next console after that, and for me the best console ever made, was the Nintendo 64. The reason why I call it the best console ever made is simply because of the wealth of games that appeared on it, and so many that still exist today that are some of my biggest and favourite games ever. We'll start with it. We're going to start with our first introduction to the Legend of Zelda series. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Of the two, I think Majora's Mask is superior. I do, purely for the story and how it plays out and the detail in that game. I think it's very, very clever. But I can also... But that's like me saying... That's like... They're both 10 out of 10 games.
They're both 10 out of 10, but I prefer the story in the Majora's Mask. I love the moon falling down.
Yep, of course.
It's fantastic, but like I said... And for bad guys, I know we mentioned Sephiroth, but Ganondorf...
Of course.
He's such a memorable bad guy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay... Favourite memories from both then, I guess, really. So, the first time getting all 100 Skulltulas, that was awesome to be able to have to do that in Ocarina of Time. But for Majora's Mask, it's just that first time you see the impact and what actually happens with the moon.
Yeah.
You know, that is so fucking cool. The first time you go back in time. Reason why I think we're both agreeing is that why we like Majora's Mask is because it feels like it's got more emotion in it. And a good example of that is Anju and fuck, what's his name? The bloke's name, their story that you can do as an extra to collect all the masks, and it plays out across the 3 days, and it actually ends in the last part of the game with the final clock down. and then a realization you have to reset the time, and it means it will never have happened.
Never happened, yeah.
Fuck that. That's horrible. Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely.
I mean, for me, over both games, you can't beat getting your horse and riding around Hyrule.
Yeah.
It's just, brilliant,
You get Epona, and first to be able to do that and realise that, that you're now a bit more free is pretty fucking awesome. I'm replaying Ocarina of Time at the moment now that Nintendo Switch has those games on it as well, so that's really fucking cool. This would start a love affair with Zelda that, be honest, we've been in and out of. But we'll get onto that, I think, in a little while. Right, other franchises then. Of course, let's talk about it. You mentioned already, the greatest first-person shooter ever created is... GoldenEye. Of course it is.
And even now, people still love it, still want to play it.
Yep, absolutely. Even with those horrible Nintendo 64 controllers, GoldenEye was an absolute blast to play. I am proud to sit here and say I have completed that game on 00 Agent all the way fucking through and locked every single cheat you can possibly do. And we have a fun way to play multiplayer, which is proximity mines only.
Brilliant.
Always proximity mines only. This is a game that I would argue has probably caused me more stress than anything. 00 Agent was really difficult.
Yep, the final level. I remember the amount of times watching you get into the final part where you fight Trevor Lane, you drop down to the little tube thing, and he knocks you off. He knocks you off, literally one little swipe, and you go flying.
Well, I would argue there's the levels before, like Facility.
The
one we got to drive the fucking tank.
Oh, the Talia. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, the tank.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, tank, yeah.
Yeah, GoldenEye, it still is one of the best, if not the greatest shooter ever made. It's a game we played to death. We also played Perfect Dark. While Perfect Dark was great, I don't have as strong memories for Perfect Dark as I do.
I had a bit of an obsession with Perfect Dark.
You did, yeah.
I don't know why. I really liked it, and I played that a lot. Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. Both of them, although Banjo-Kazooie more than Tooie. Although Tooie did enough different and had enough cool shit going on to enjoy. Banjo-Kazooie is so beloved that I have the likes of this these days, which is a 4-pack vinyl of all the music.
Yeah, music, game-wise,
wonderful.
The final boss easy, but the game board.
The game board's so much fucking fun. To quiz you about what you've just gone through is how well. But you should know as well if you watch the flashback. Oh, but we will bring this up now. Damon, best level in Banjo-Kazooie is?
Click Clock Wood.
Of course it is. The 4 seasons. Yes, wonderful.
It's genius. I mean, rare when they were good. Genius.
Yeah, this was rare. We're kicking fucking ass. Going back to the SNES days, although we never played them back then, the likes of Donkey Kong Country with a wonderful soundtrack and really well-made games. Talking of which, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Love this game. Fucking hard, fucking stupid.
Yep.
But loved it because it was cartoony and super fucking adult.
Yeah, our first probably, I was going to say our first introduction into rude adult games, but obviously not.
I would say it's an early introduction to sex and games.
Yeah, sex and games, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's just hilarious, I mean, just like bloody the bees, the wife getting pissed off the drunk husband.
Yep.
And getting the bloody pollinate the flower.
Fighting the giant mighty poo and his song. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Right, what else we got from Nintendo 64? Because this wasn't one we played loads of games on, but what we played was significant. I'm trying to think now.
I mean, not everyone's favourite, but again, I put a lot of time into it. I think you did too. Body Harvest.
Oh, Body Harvest, yeah. Tough game to play.
Very tough.
But it's a shame because it had some really interesting ideas.
Very clever,
yeah. Yeah, really, really interesting ideas, but never really made it far into that.
Everyone's negative that they control the movement of the guy. He moved like he was a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Actually, really fucking slow as well. I played Castlevania 64 in it. That game fucking sucked. There was a lot of bad games, and Mission Impossible was a bad game as well. Yeah. What ones are we missing from this? I'm
missing some obvious ones, I know.
Right, we mentioned it in the PlayStation, we'll mention it now. For some reason, even though I never really liked it as a franchise, got super obsessed with Wipeout 64. Yeah. Really obsessed with it.
Again, I don't know why, but it was one of those really, really good games.
Yeah. Like, really, really... I remember being obsessed with getting whatever the best medal was, and having to study those air braking and how you move and stuff like that. Really, really strong game in the racing aspect. What else from racing?
Another racing one for me was it was not our first introduction to a Star Wars game, but Star Wars Racer.
Yeah.
We obviously played episode 1 on the PS1.
PS1, yeah.
But I mean, for racing games, this was a really good racing game.
Yeah, it really,
Difficult,
really was.
Really hard as you got on further along.
I just realised what I'm forgetting.
I know we missed some big ones.
Yes, and I've realised, of course, what we are forgetting. The game that transformed a franchise and is still one of the best 3D platformers ever made. It is, of course, Super Mario 64. How could we forget that? Do you remember the first time his face just appeared in that 3D screen? You were like, what the fuck?
Hello.
Wonderful. Wonderful game, wonderfully made. Something they've been... It's not my favourite Mario game. That comes later. But fucking hell, what an incredible game it was. What an incredible experience it was. It was also, although it wasn't our first experience of Mario, we should have mentioned back in the SNES, but we obviously played Super Mario Kart to death as well.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Super Mario Kart 64 is still my favourite karting game to date. 64, the first time playing Rainbow Road. It's probably everyone's favourite or memorable version of Rainbow Road. Yeah.
Mario Sunshine.
Huh?
Mario Sunshine.
Not the karting game.
So racing game,
Yeah. Okay, did we really play any beat-em-ups on it? I remember Clay Fighter, but not,
I remember back in the day, I know we missed it. It might have been more PS2, but we played a lot of wrestling games. Did we play like No Mercy?
Oh, back in the day, yeah. So No Mercy, I think we played in
loads.
64, but Attitude on the PlayStation 1 and stuff like that. You are right.
We used to have the bloody competitions, man. Yeah, proper ones. We used to make our own characters and have. We used to have bloody. I know we're geeks. So we used to have bloody like game nights. Me, you, Liam, like literally wrestling games. We had our create our own pay-per-views of characters and we controlled them. Yeah, it's proper. We did loads, man.
Yeah, we were nerds. Fucking nerds. Right. I can't think of any more.
There must be more, but my mind's gone blank.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's move on then as we are going quite a while here as well. GameCube was the next major console for me. And this was be it for a little while. So the GameCube, being a Nintendo fan, having trust in it at this point, GameCube has a lot of games I do enjoy in it, but I also recognise its flaws more than anything else. So let's fly through the ones that were good more than anything else. I do have a lot of love for Luigi's Mansion, even though I think it's been massively improved with both 2 and the third one to date.
Definitely.
More than anything else. We touch upon it, Super Mario Sunshine. A flawed but clever game. I don't... You can't be seriously saying that's the best Mario game.
It's one of my favourites.
That's crazy talk.
It's the one that I played a lot more. I enjoyed collecting the shines. I enjoyed the concept. I enjoyed the... Well, I didn't play like the whole flood bollocks thing, but I just think that the level designs were all very colourful. It was beautiful. I loved Delfino, the city town.
Okay. It's your opinion. It's one that I think is always going to be challenged because it's kind of wildly known as, well, not a bad game or anything like that. You can't say that's a better game than Super Mario 64 and some of the ones that came later. No, I do think.
Just realised we missed one. Go back to the 64 with one big game.
Go on.
Pokemon Snap.
Oh, of course, yeah. Pokemon Snap.
I know they've re-released it on the Switch. I've not played it yet. I'm gutted.
They haven't re-released it. It's a sequel.
Oh, sorry. It's a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could actually say Pokemon Stadium and that as well because we did put some time in that. Yeah. We're not Pokemon fans, but the aspect of Pokemon Snap was really, really appealing.
Yeah, it's clever.
Absolutely. So back to the GameCube. Yeah. What else did we play? Oh, of course, the deal that Capcom and Nintendo sorted out that resulted in the remake of Resident Evil, which is still the best version. Not the best version because the re-release of that is the best version. But there is no better Resident Evil. Like, if you've never played Resident Evil, you go play this version. Yeah. And it wasn't just a tarted up version. They fucking made it. Yeah. Incredible. Including some new areas and a new character in Lisa Trevor. Incredible. They wouldn't do that with 2 or 3. They would just re-release those. Yeah. But it did result in new Resident Evil game and a direction change for the franchise, which was... Turned out to be genius because it reinvigorated the series for a while. Resident Evil 4. First release in the GameCube.
Yeah,
brilliant game. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. I mean, for me, the GameCube only had maybe 10 to 15 games, which I mainly played.
Yep.
So and we're going back to for games like Dodging the Giant.
Yeah, weird game,
Weird game, but it
had its fun.
It was one of those games. It was for me. It was one of those building games again.
Yeah.
And obviously with the old disasters, the volcanoes. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot. Pikmin, yeah. Another one. Never
big fan of either, yeah, but yeah.
Never played number 2. Enjoyed the first one, yeah. Had its fun.
Die Hard Vendetta.
Yeah.
That was an interesting game. Yeah, that was an interesting game. What was that one with the weird Cubivore? Do you remember Cubivore?
Yeah.
That was an unusual one as well as that. And of course, our love affair continued with The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. I personally fell madly in love with this game. The cell shading and all that, but the aspect of it I absolutely adored. It holds one of my all-time favourite Zelda moments, which is just the moment at the very end, spoilers, when you drive the sword into Ganondorf's head. Yeah. And it was like, fuck, that's brutal.
Yeah,
but it was fucking cool. It's just that image of just douche.
Yeah,
It was like, whoa, that's awesome, you know? But also the fact that, you know, this was the start of the realization that the franchises were veering off into different timelines.
Yeah.
You know, that was really fucking cool. GameCube, what else?
Another Final Fantasy game, but not
Oh, Crystal Chronicles.
It's a very weird one, but I quite enjoyed it. You know,
I never really got on with it. I just never really got the point of it.
It's way off to what Final Fantasy is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Was there anything else? Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
Okay, yeah.
Arguably one of the best games on GameCube for us. A horror experience like we'd never had before.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. The madness moments really, really had a lot of impact on us. Yeah.
And there's one big one which you must have played, Fires of Emblem.
Oh, Fires of Emblem,
God,
yeah.
That was one of my proper real-time strategy games. It's like a chessboard.
Yep.
Moving your piece around. Oh, man. That game now, I'm trying to buy it. It's like £100 on eBay.
Oh.
So difficult to get.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
As was the case with no script, we are going to go back. Because we've actually missed out an important console in our history.
Dreamcast.
We missed out the Dreamcast, the last Sega console we would ever play, that anyone would ever play. But we didn't hold many games on it.
Nope.
We didn't play many, so it won't be too much detail about it. But the games we did play are so iconic and so important. Let's start off with the Blue Hedgehog himself, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure, I thought, was one of the best games ever made when I first played it. Obviously, time has not aged it well when you realise its many, many flaws. But I still have a lot of love for that game.
Yeah, well, it introduced us to the amazing graphics.
Absolutely. What else? Not it. We know it. We're going to come to it as the last thing. We will come to it. But what else? Virtual Cops, the new Virtual Cops, new Virtual Fighters were all perfectly fine.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem with Dreamcast. Audience like, what else?
We didn't play that many games. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure we played Code Veronica on Dreamcast.
No, I played Code Veronica when it was released as Code Veronica X on the Xbox 360. Go on, what's yours?
Jet Set
Radio, of course.
That game was, even now I love that game.
That's still, absolutely.
Such a clever game, man.
Clever, weird, maddening, fun, and they've never been able to capture that magic again with any sequel. Of course, Jet Set Radio. Yeah. Are we missing anything before we come to it? You know what we're thinking, but we'll come to it. Oh, this game covers many consoles, but I'm going to talk about it on this console because it's one of the better versions. So we played this game on Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and PC. But the Dreamcast is arguably the best version aside from the PC. It is, of course, Shadowman.
Oh, that's not the game I was thinking you were saying.
Okay. Yeah. Big fan of Shadowman. Still hoping that this remastered version will be released on consoles and not just on PC. But Shadowman, just fell in love with this. So much so that I ended up hunting the comic books down.
Such a clever game too.
One of those games that I've played to death, collected every single Dark Soul and done everything you can possibly do in it. I love that game. What did you think I was going to say?
So I'm wrong. I didn't play the Dreamcast. I played the PS1, but it was Medal of Honor.
Oh, of course. We did actually miss Medal of Honor on PlayStation. Yeah, Medal of Honor, one of the best first-person shooters ever made. Absolutely. Really cool history, really cool weapons. Even a good sequel of Medal of Honor Underground. Oh, yeah. So that's the problem with this. We are going to miss stuff. So we're trying to rack our brains more than anything else.
Dreamcast, we only had a bundle of maybe 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, and it was only for like a year as well. So let's do it then. The game that arguably helped define our later gaming more than anything else, but also saw what could be. It is Shenmue. It's one of the favourite games ever made. Here's the thing. I get it. I get why if you play it now, you're like, why? Because it's got such limitations. It's got such limitations. It's got arguable gameplay, questionable fighting mechanics, and way too many Q2Es. I get all of this, but we just fell fucking in love with this.
But imagine playing it back in the 90s.
Well, I am. That's the thing. I'm remembering when we played it.
People nowadays, you can say, oh yeah, but I don't know why it's such a good game. Because back in the 90s, you didn't have bloody Call of Duties, you didn't have all these games.
Of course, it doesn't hold up by today's standards.
Yeah, of course not.
But it was such a unique experience. This open world, obviously very limited open world, but the idea that time and how you could use it and how the story would play out, and if you weren't doing this, you could do this. Even though it turns out it's very limited.
Yeah, it is limited.
Collectibles, the playing games within games, all the stuff we'd never experienced, the changing weather patterns.
Just so much. I mean, this bloody driving a forklift around.
Yeah, doing your
job.
job.
Getting buses, doing little. Just so many, bloody buying drinks for the cheap ass Chinese man who just always wants to drink.
Yeah. And of course, Shenmue 2.
Yeah.
Of course, going bigger, bolder, better, arguably.
Yeah.
Didn't grab me the way number 1 did.
Certain points did. I mean, obviously, the little arcade games we had to drop the little thing.
Oh yeah.
Compared to the forklift or carrying the crates, nowhere near compared to driving a forklift. It was very frustrating, very hard to get money, and if you didn't, and the little paying ass kid who stores all your toys, Wong. Yeah, Wong.
Yeah, Dreamcast hit and miss for games for us. Now, this next part is going to have to be flown through. Because basically, I was reaching a certain age where gaming wasn't that important to me. So I was falling out of love with it, and I was more interested in drinks and girls and stuff like that. So, I'm going to condense what happened to me over these years before I hit the next major console that I actually spent time with than anything else. I owned them briefly, but mainly for other reasons. A PlayStation 2, an original Xbox, and PC gaming. So I went for a period where I played to death World of Warcraft. I spent a lot of time with that game.
Never played it, no?
Yep, spent a lot of time with it and really enjoyed it for about 3 months. I owned a PlayStation 2 mainly for the DVD player than anything else, but through that ended up playing a few games, but none of the major ones. Mainly Final Fantasy X. Which I do adore. It's got one of my favourite stories. I think it's one of the most emotionally impacting and massive moments.
Yep.
But it's not my favourite Final Fantasy.
I agree, yeah.
And the original Xbox, where I played a handful of games, including the Nightmare Before Christmas game, which I just adored. Yeah.
I mean, PS2, obviously, better get Solid 2.
Oh, I played it later, not then. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a good game, Sons of Liberty. It's a good game. I guess on 2 Sons of Liberty. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy X.
Yep.
Brilliant. Back in the day, I was obsessed with bloody Pro Evolution.
Yeah, okay.
2006, 7, 8, 9, blah, blah, so and so on. Not really into FIFA at the time, and then... I think that.
See, that's what I mean.
Freedom Fighters. I really enjoyed that back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, I really enjoyed that. At the top of my head. Again, it was my homage to Command & Conquer, but it was Army Men RTS.
Right, that stuff. Yeah, you're a big fan of that stuff. Yeah,
I really love Army. Actually, even all the Army games in the PS1, I missed the Dreamcast, even bloody. I think it was on the GameCube too, actually, at some point. But all my Army games, I like them. Yeah. But other than that, I know I've got a pile back at home, but I can't think of the top of my head because I've played them for such a long time.
Well, that's the thing. It just wasn't an important console for me. I just never really gamed until I kind of moved in with my wife, my girlfriend at the time, my wife. And I was encouraged to kind of like, all right, get back into gaming and pick up the Xbox 360 and play that. Now, this is like the achievement side of things, and the Xbox 360, it's too long for us to go too much into. But from that, it did create a lot of love and a lot of time, which has continued to date. So let's lump modern day in, because obviously you did briefly get into modern games, and then you stopped for a very long time, and now you're getting back into it.
Yeah.
So let's cover everything from Xbox 360 to Xbox One and where we are now, with just some of your favourite games across all the modern consoles that you're playing. Favourite games, favourite moments, favourite things, favourite scenes and stuff like that you can just think of. So, I will talk about Gears of War. And I'll talk about the multiplayer aspect that we've had a lot of fun with over time as brothers. Not just me and you, but Liam and Brendan, and things we've done in that. Fun that we've had in multiplayer in Call of Duty games, the old ones particularly, Modern Warfare originally, those sort of things. A lot of good multiplayer fun has come from the early Xbox 360 game. Even doing some of the cooperative stuff and things like that. I think that's really, really important. Following along franchises, following along with the Resident Evil franchise, and playing 5 and playing 6 and playing 7, and where we're at now with that is always a joy. Some have dropped off the way, like Final Fantasy. I struggled to get into Final Fantasy, the one with Lightning, 11 part 1, 2 and 3.
I've not played a Final Fantasy since 10.2.
Okay, so I played Lightning and Lightning Returns, those two, more than anything else. But I also want to throw in the Switch, because I have a Switch, and I love the Nintendo Switch. But this is the one that brought me back into Zelda, because without ever having a Wii or Wii U, I missed out on a lot of games. But Breath of the Wild, of course, and the best Mario game ever made, which is Super Mario Fuck, what have I got? Odyssey. Odyssey.
Odyssey, oh yeah.
To me, is the best Mario game ever played. I adore that to death. But as well, Animal Crossing, which we didn't touch upon in the GameCube, but obviously we played to death back then. And all the games that I haven't... I love my Switch. I love it. It's got some of my favourite games. I should also point out, and going back again, this is what happens when your mind is triggered. Some of the most impactful games over the years that I get to follow along with. Going back to PlayStation, I'm playing Broken Sword and Broken Sword 2. Which is a love affair I've had with Broken Sword. I'm going to get to Discworld in a second. I never played 3 and 4 because obviously they were released on PC, but they were also 3D versions. I've now just recently played Broken Sword 3. I can see the flaw in all of them. I get it, but I loved Broken Sword 5. Playing Discworld 2 Missing Presumed started a love affair for me with Discworld. I am a huge Discworld fan. That entire thing there is all my Discworld books. My entire arm is tattooed with them. Terry Pratchett is one of my heroes, and I attribute that to playing Discworld 2 Missing Presumed.
My mind's going to flash on a lot of games. Bloody Blood Omen.
Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Incredible. We just can't.
There's so many, it's hard to remember them all.
Yeah, we simply can't. It's the idea was we were going to do this non-scripted and just talk about everything. But then we'll talk about some things that have impacted me as I got in my older life. Only a couple of years ago, one of my all-time favourite games is Thomas Was Alone. I hope you played it. I hope you know of it. Thomas Was Alone is a very simple 2D platformer that is moving shapes to portals using a commentary system by... Danny... I've forgotten his name. Danny somebody... But he won a BAFTA for his performance in this. Thomas Was Alone is so wonderful. I also happen to have the vinyl soundtrack for it. I have it tattooed on my body. My entire arm here is a video game inspired. We should have just looked at this and been like, okay, Abe's Odyssey, Abe's Exodus. There you go. Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil. We've forgotten them all. What else we got? Got my Final Fantasies. Deadly Premonition from the Xbox 360. Dark Souls. Silent Hill 2. There's so many that we've just forgotten or missed off. But Thomas Was Alone was it was a game that made me emotional in a way I've never experienced in any game to date. As an adult, where I was just like, holy fucking shit. There's a point in that game where I had to put my controller down and I walked off because I just had to take a moment to believe what was happening. Thomas Was Alone is available everywhere. It costs no more than I think $7.99. This is one of the best games, in my opinion, ever made. Everybody that plays it says it's brilliant. Just, it hit me more than anything else. I also want to give massive props to other ones like that. Little Inferno. A game I played on mobile that's been released on other things as well. Little Inferno is a game that just hit me right there. And I just love it because of that. To the Moon. What a fucking game To the Moon is. Talk about tear-jerking. And that's what I love about modern gaming. Is the emotional impact you have with this stuff. But I can also just enjoy fun games. Far Cry's.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Stuff like that. Massive. Gears of War, Call of Duties, the Resident Evil, all this stuff. I can totally... Dead Rising. Huge fan of Dead Rising. Huge fan.
For me, like, obviously, I'm slowly getting back into the more, but I still play my older games. And, like, recently, obviously, for me, it's the entire Dead Space series.
Yeah, of course.
And you talk about, for you, like, emotional games, I said... For me, the entire Mass Effect, the 1, 2, and 3, even though 3's got its bad reviews, blah, 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 but there's certain points in like those games, man, it really hits you, man, when, especially number 3 pissed me off, man, seriously. I spent my entire time saving my entire crew, and then I watched bloody Morphine get killed to cure their fucking Genophage. Who gives a shit about Rex, man? But I had to let him die just to get from some points so I can get the good ending. His is one of the saddest. That line about it had to be me. Somebody else could screw it up. It's just like fuck, I gave him an option to knock him out or kill him. But I thought, I can't kill him. He was my guy. To see in fighting the human race, it was me, him, and buddy Samara. He was my fire guy, man, and so annoying.
Yeah, some great franchises have started up there, but what's also interesting to see some franchises try to come back and fail. Now, we didn't mention the N64. We'll mention it now. Turok. Now, Turok is a game we played to death on Nintendo 64. We know that's flaws. And do you remember playing Turok on the Xbox 360 and just being like, this fucking sucks? Never made another sequel. Re-released the Turoks now with HD. And they hold up really well because you've lost all that issues like fogging and stuff like that.
It's for one massive game which we put out into Star Fox.
Star Fox. Star Fox 64, and of course Star Fox Adventures, which we really liked.
Yeah.
Even though it totally was a fucking Zelda ripoff, still really liked it. But then now it's happening though. This is what we wanted by the idea of flashing back. We're flashing mentally back, going, "Oh, these were the games." Yeah, I love Star Fox Adventures. Real big fan of that and stuff like that. Although I still don't get why it was like Crystal had to look sexy. Why?
Typical when those sort of games where they try and modernise it and all that.
So what else from the modern day are, that's sort of a big deal, that you're finding is a big deal, particularly from the franchise starters more than anything else. So Dead Space, what a wonderful series. Absolutely love that. I'm personally a fan of Dead Space 3. Get to fight a moon. Fucking hell. Let's do this. You know what I mean?
I mean, I haven't played the remaster version yet, but Alan Wake.
All right.
Such a really very creepy game.
Well, if you want, go read a review on gbhbl.com where you will hear me explain to you that the remaster is probably not worth playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, simply because it doesn't change enough. It's visually prettier, but everything else is the same. And if you remember, Alan controls like a drunk, and the gameplay elements, nothing is not enough. It's a remaster, but basic remaster where it's like, yep, it's prettier, it loads faster, it does all of that, but we've not put new content in, we've not put extra content in, we've not done this, we've not done that. That's my issue with that remaster. It's still Alan Wake, so it's still a great fucking game. And Alan Wake had what was the American Nightmares? That was quite fun. Yeah. Stuff like, do you remember the days of arcade games where it was 200G only and stuff like that? Yeah, those days. Picked up a lot of those games as well. I'm trying to think. Fable. We're going back to the original Xbox and stuff like that. But Fable was a love affair that we just watched in horror. As they took a wonderful idea, made it cool in Fable 2, and then just fucked it up for Fable 3.
I had a rumour they're making another one.
They're supposed to be.
Yeah, I really hope they can repair the damage.
I just feel like games, if they've got to do something massively different, because what Fable did back then is not that impressive by today's standards.
Yeah, I know.
They would need to come up with something new, and I don't know if they can. And what about some... Go on, sorry.
Whoever mentioned it, probably it's got to be arguably one of the greatest games ever created on computer consoles ever. Go on. It's got to be Skyrim.
Oh, of course, Elder Scrolls. Yeah, well, let's do Oblivion and Skyrim.
Exactly,
yeah. Oblivion was my first experience of Elder Scrolls, number 4, and wow. But Skyrim was a step up. Easily sunk 180 hours, I think mine was.
I completed it recently, and I could start again.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games, and there's so much you can do.
Although he's not played it, I just want to throw it in there, folks, as well. For a game of that size, it's just an amazing game from beginning to end. Huge game worth playing, but it's from the third person. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What a game that is. Holy fucking hell. You know it. You played it. Absolutely.
I've heard so much about it, but I've not been there yet. So.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one. That's my biggest problem these days, I find, that these huge games I just don't have time. That I'm constantly behind. Right, let's think of genres then from this modern day. So what are some great real-time strategy games that you've played in modern day? Because let's throw this in right now. Watching Command & Conquer collapse has been very, very sad. Yeah. Later sequels like Red Alert 2, Tiberium Wars, they just weren't very good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've played a lot of them. I played Kane's Wrath and Command & Conquer 3, where they had bloody... I mean, again, they had...
An insane difficulty curve.
Yeah, I think they spent way too much on the budget of getting these actors in, because he had the guy from Lost.
But that was before he was famous.
Oh yeah, I suppose, yeah.
So he probably didn't cost that much.
True, true.
You know what we've forgotten about? Can you remember what it was? What was the first-person shooter game that we played with Command & Conquer? Do you remember it? It was a first-person shooter Command & Conquer game. Or did I play it myself on PC? There's a first-person shooter game of Command & Conquer. What was it called? I'll have to think about it and I'll flash it up on the screen.
I don't think I played it, but I do remember where you can run around. It's like you can see the machine gun and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like that. I think you played a commando.
Sort of like bloody Survivor, Survivors, right?
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Talking of which, we never mentioned Resident Evil Survivor. No. There's a game that fucking sucked. Sucked back then, sucks now. But we loved Resident Evil so much, we'd have played it. Yeah. Look, talk about the Resident Evil franchise. It's just been a hard play. From a franchise that did so much well, to then hit Resident Evil 5, which I did really enjoy a lot of, but and you had to play it cooperatively, properly. I just couldn't get on with 6. And a lot of the side stories, I played Resident Evil Raccoon, what was it, Raccoon 1? The Raccoon one where you're fucking teams. That fucking, the one where they gave you half the game and then the other half was DLC. That bullshit. Absolute bullshit. But then obviously Resident Evil 7 has brought it back to great heights.
I've not got that yet.
And of course, the remakes of 2 and 3 have been brilliant. You know, we didn't touch upon as well some remakes. We didn't touch upon the Twin Snakes from GameCube.
Yeah.
The remake of, or reimagining of Metal Gear Solid.
Impressive.
We said it in the flashback. It's kind of unfairly forgotten about.
It is, and what I think we mentioned again in the flashbacks how impressive with the fact that they got the original voice actors.
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic.
Yeah. In addition, it's well worth mentioning, while I didn't follow Metal Gear along after 2, I did play 5. And fucking hell, what a game. Yeah, it's got its problems. Yeah, it's got that really weird sort of finale thing going on. But I am a big fan of Metal Gear Solid 5. Particularly the open world aspect I had a blast with. I didn't think I'd enjoy it, but I fucking did.
I think the last one I played was number 3, which is where Big Boss, I think it was.
Well,
yeah.
It's been out for a long time, so it'll be cheap. The Phantom Pain, definitely well worth looking at. What else can we look at?
One of my biggest achievements on the Xbox 360 for me was, and we again as brothers we all played together online, was Max Payne 3.
Oh, we'll talk about Max Payne overall then. Fucking hell!
Yes, exactly.
How do we miss Max Payne?
The whole franchise. But I mean, number 3. You all know the impossible achievement: complete the game without getting like damaged.
Crazy.
That took me hours and hours and hours, and it was one of probably my greatest moments on playing console wise. But the online was clever. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. We had some fun with that.
Yeah.
I think probably one of my favourite, like my personal achievements, is Dead Rising 7 Day Survivor. Done it twice. Yeah, that's how nuts that one is. Right, what else we got?
I don't think it's a game that you played that often, but it would have been for me. That was Left 4 Dead.
Oh yeah, I played it and enjoyed it online a bit as well. Back when I did a lot more online gaming and things like that. What else we got? So obviously like modern franchises as well, like the new Spyro games. There was I can't remember what it's called. There's a Spyro game where you're attached by the neck to someone else, where you're playing 2 dragons, and it's not very good, but it's got one of the most heartbreaking endings because Spyro fucking dies. Amazing shit.
Yeah, I don't call it one.
Yeah, Dark Souls. I didn't come to it till very, very late, but I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. Things like Dante's Inferno. These are all we played so fucking much. Darksiders. Darksiders. That was a great blast. Fallout. Yeah, Fallout.
Now, see, my experience of Fallout is not very good. I've recently started. What was it? Is it Fallout 3? Is number 3? We started.
Or 4.
It
4 starts with you with a family having to go underground.
No, then I'm number 3 where you're a baby being raised.
Right.
I've just started that recently, literally about 2 days ago. So that's the first Fallout I've ever played.
Right, well, you start with the best one.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go. You start with the best one. Absolutely. No dispute about that. Bioshocks. Yeah, another franchise. It's just a wonderful experience.
Another franchise, but for me, it got brilliant, okay, downhill.
Brilliant, good, great. That's how it is for me. So Bioshock 1, brilliant. Bioshock 2, good. And we are secret fans of the multiplayer. Absolutely. And Bioshock Infinite, great. I don't agree with you on that one.
I like the story from Infinite. I don't like the gameplay. I like the story.
Okay. You know, again, an opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it. What else we got? My goodness me. There's so many. We could have done this over a couple of hours, really.
Easily.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously for you, newer, I don't know, for the newer console, obviously Shenmue 3. You know, a lot of people.
Massive disappointment.
Massive disappointment. Even for me, you know. So I waited. You know, I mean, we argued for years and years and years. They're never going to make it. They are going to make it, and they finally did. And it was a disappointment. I'm still hoping.
Could never live up.
Still hoping for number 4, which is possible. It is going to happen because the way they ended it. So, but
it could never live up. It could never live up to the hype. It could never live up to the demand and the expectation that people did. The thing is, what we've not done is really follow along with the PlayStation side of things. I owned a PS3, but only played a handful of games on it. Through re-releases, I played some older games. I would end up playing Silent Hill 2 and 3 through the HD remaster, which I know is inferior to the original games, but for me it's my first experience of that, and I'm glad I did because Silent Hill 2 is now my favourite Silent Hill game. I would also play the later ones like Downpour and Homecoming. I always found things to enjoy in them, but the state of Silent Hill and Konami in general is always really sad. You know what? Some of my favourite games, another series of games that I really liked, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. Absolutely love the ending of Castlevania with the devil and the speech and the forgiveness of God is one of my favourite, like, wow, that blew me away. Huge fan of those games. Huge fucking fan of those games. Kind of forget about them because nothing really gets fucking done with them anymore. That sort of thing. Can you think of anything else?
I mean, there's obviously been disappointments, obviously, along the ways, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, when you play games like Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, and you need to play Blood Omen 2 on the Xbox. It's one of those games where they thought it was a quick money grab.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a series that never really lived up to what we liked in the original, isn't it?
Yeah, it disappeared.
Yeah, we've had that. Like I said, we've had that with a few where it's just kind of like, nope, it doesn't continue.
They thought it was a quick easy, here's a quick buck, but it didn't work.
Yeah. The console times and moved on since then. You know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because we don't really get many real-time strategy games. Not in the same way. No. What I love these days is the indie side of gaming. That's where, like I said, I discovered the likes of Thomas Was Alone, To the Moon, Little Inferno. These are the indie games I love. You know, Limbo. Limbo is a great fucking example of a game that's just wonderful.
I just thought of probably one of my greatest ever games, probably in my top 10. But it's going back to the Dreamcast.
Go on.
Skies of Arcadia.
Oh God Almighty! I'm going to dispute this and say that Skies of Arcadia Legends on the GameCube is the better version because it is the same game but included extra content.
Okay,
yeah. Skies of Arcadia, one of the best RPGs and one of the ones that people are constantly asking for a re-release.
There's another one too, but I've forgotten the name. It's like Time Capsules.
Oh my God Almighty! How could I forget one of the best? I know it. I'm about to tell you. One of the best first-person shooters ever made. It is Time Splitters 2. Time Splitters 2. What a fucking game! Oh my God, I always remember the Notre Dame level. Fucking amazing stuff. Yep. Or even the Blade Runner-esque, future-esque. Oh, what a game. Absolutely. These are the ones you kind of forget. And that was a PlayStation 2 game. One of the few I actually played. Absolutely loved that game. Really, really did. The variety in gameplay. Absolutely amazing in that.
So, I mean, there's so many we've missed.
Yeah.
Which are just popping straight back in there. Again, PS1 for me, Future Cop LAPD.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the multiplayer, not the first player game, the multiplayer was the main thing I played.
Well, we'll bring this up now as well. We talked about it in PS1, but not having much love for Tomb Raider. I would find love for Tomb Raider going forward on the Xbox 360 with the release of Tomb Raider Anniversary. And I decided, you know what, this is the original game for more modern console. Let me play it. And I ended up loving it. Enough so that every Tomb Raider game around that I started to play. And then fell in love with the new version of the Tomb Raider games, which are fucking great as well. Yeah, really, really good stuff. So the Tomb Raiders actually became a fan of them.
So we mentioned a lot of franchises, and it's probably a massive franchise which we missed on the Xbox 360, but it's Assassin's Creed.
Of course.
Yeah. Brilliant. Obviously, for me, the new ones. I've not played. What have I played up to? I played obviously 1, 2, Revelations, Black Flag. I played those ones. I think after Black Flag, I've not played anymore. So for me, I can't judge after that. But from what I've read online, they've gone downhill.
It seems varied. There's been quite a few. I'm in the same boat. I can't remember the name of it, but the last one I played is the British one. It's the last one I played. No,
the British one.
British one.
Yeah, sorry,
That's the last one I played. But a franchise that, I've loved for a long time. The problem is too many releases came out too fast, and I couldn't keep up. Didn't have the time for it or anything like that. Franchise as well that kind of we played when we were younger, and have kind of continued on with the new games as well. But Doom, absolutely. Duke Nukem to some degree as well. Although obviously the long-awaited Duke Nukem sequel was pretty fucking wank in the end.
Very disappointing.
Very, very disappointing. What else we got? Had a brief love affair with rhythm games, Guitar Hero. Did enjoy them for a while, but like everyone, I got bored quickly.
That's the problem. I got bored with them,
You know, we've not touched upon much, and there's a reason why sports games. Never really gave them much time. Played some of the Pro Evolutions over the years. That's about it.
I had a bit of a massive thing for like Formula 1, but I think it was like...
played a few Formula 1 games,
It was like 2018, 19, that sort of style. But then they were so... Because at the time I was an achievement person. It's like you had to get level 50 online, and it was a pain in the arse.
Kind of thing. If you don't want to be online,
Because there's me being my beautiful Lewis Hamilton, great driver, and there comes some twat from behind, piles through the entire lot, wipes everyone out, and then that's it.
The online and the first drive into the corner and watching people just trying to rocket into you makes for a horrible experience. Absolutely horrible experience. What else we got? I think we might almost be done.
like I said, there's so and you people always screaming like, well, this one.
Yeah,
one.
yeah, of course.
And I said, we'll admit it, there's so many we've missed.
Yeah, it's our flashback, it's our brains.
I've got piles on my shelf at home, and when I go home tonight, I'm going, oh my god.
You forgot that one.
I can't believe it.
You know,
the biggest
I forgot Casper. You know, on PlayStation 1.
I know.
Yeah, aspects like that. You know, these days, so we're up to date. These days, as far as I am constantly trying to play indie games on my Xbox One X more than anything else. You know, big games, open world, I struggle to find the time for. In between that, I'm spending a lot of time on my Switch and trying to play those as well. My most recent buy, as of the time recording, is Jurassic World Evolution 2. Just that turned up today in the post. So I'm quite excited for that, because I know you're a big fan of those as well.
I only played the Jurassic World, the first one, was literally about a month ago.
Yeah.
I only got the XS, the white one, literally about 2 months ago. And oh my god, that game is such a beautiful game. You know, I love theme park. You know, I love theme hospital, but that game is, for me, it ticks every box. You know, I played it on the PS2 Genesis, and
Genesis, of course, yeah.
That ticks all the boxes, but it had its limitations.
Yeah.
But this game here doesn't have limitations, and I will play number 2, but I refuse to pay 80 quid for it or whatever it is.
It's not 80 quid, it's 50, but yeah.
I refuse to pay 50 quid for a game, but I'll wait till it goes down for a bit.
Oh, yeah. The sales all the fucking time, ain't there? That's the thing, just wait for that.
But big up Jeff Goldblum for being a man who does all the... or every time on Facebook, he's talking about the dinosaurs, he's doing all the interviews, so I like him too.
We're going to wrap this up. We're going to call this time in this. We hope you enjoyed it. This is the end of the Flashback series, so they're all going to stay on YouTube, of course. By all means, drop us some comments if you want to share, if we've forgotten the games, or share some of your own thoughts and history of it. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?